that energy is where, like, so I heard a bunch of new things about you. Okay, so the last time I had known, you are a well-known author within the. No, I didn't even know you as a journalist. Very honestly, I know you as an author, like a person who's like released books and whatnot. And then recently, I found out that you've started like working in advertisements, because that was like, hey, I recognize that person, and it was like, she's been working for a while now and whatnot, like.
2 years ago, just I think 3 months before the pandemic started, the first wave, I was in Calcutta. Somebody had invited me for a talk. I go for motivational talks and all of that. So, I was in Calcutta, and I just checked into the hotel, and there was this call saying that, Facebook and Dove are doing a Thumbstopper series, and Prakash Verma is directing it. Will you? And for Prakash Verma is like, of the ad world.
Yes.
So I said, I don't know what that means, like Thumbstopper series and all, but I will do it anyway.
जो भी है sign कर दो.
कर दो. क्योंकि, as a kid, I was like the shyest person I knew. Like even till, I think, for the first 40 years of my life, I was like very, very shy. I would talk to people, interview people, because that was my profession. But inside of me, I'm a very, very shy person. So there was a secret pact I did with myself that I'm going to I'm going to get rid of this. Like painfully reclusive me has to go, because there is no reason why I should be like that. And so when this came, so part of that getting out of that reclusive space and into a space where I'm no longer scared of the camera. One of this was, either theatre or films or ads. TEDx, it started with TEDx. Like that was like frightening beyond imagination. But this was long ago, before TEDx became now like Jumri Tal.
Dude, everyone gives a TEDx. I was just about like, why is she bragging about TEDx?
So this was like many, many years ago, and it was just something that was just coming into India. And 2013, it's a long time ago. Yeah. And I was talking with Anu Aga and all of those people, So it was something really challenging, and I said, I'm going to do it. I was not awed by the TEDx platform as such, but I was awed by this thing that you have to stand in front of, I think, Pune's who's who were there, and mostly business leaders and all of. I said, if I can crack that, I can crack almost anything. So I did. So I did that. Usha Uttap was there. She's a fantastic speaker. Yeah. So she was speaking. Anu Aga was speaking. So I said, I'm going to do this.
And so you also.
And so I did it. Yeah. So I did it. And I think it began from there. That this thing that I'm going to crack this thing. I'm going to give up my fear of being in
front of people, in front of the camera.
Yeah, I can do it in a whisper. I can interview anybody. I can do all of that. But that personal me is very, very shy. So the ad thing was that. It started, and I went on that, I went on the set, and I walked into the, all the cameras and lights and all, and I thought, I'm going to die here. But I didn't feel even, one iota of fear. I just did it in a breeze, and I said, hey, I'm enjoying this. So let me just
keep going at it.
I'm enjoying it so much, because I now can walk into any set, make friends with people, and not feel at all scared. And that's a great space to be, especially when you're, when you're on the wrong side of 50 and people are already telling you, you know how it is, ageism, in our society. Like a woman on the wrong side of 50 is, her expiry date is come, and now she has to just disappear under the rug, under the carpet, or be on the fringes. And bacha sambalo yaar, ghar sambalo. Why are you so ambitious? I'm asked that all the time. Why are you so ambitious?
Seriously, that's so it's the equivalent of like, hey, how are you so good? Say jagah pe, you're like, why are you so good? That is such a stupid thing to ask.
तुला अजून काय करायचंय, अजून काय मिळवायचंय? I don't understand that. Like I'm not doing any of this for money. I'm doing it because of this sense of fulfillment. I feel
keep it fresh, yeah. How long will you do the same thing?
Yeah. So that is something, like my closest friends will say that your daughter is now, grown up. Now you should now be slowing down. And I say, no, this is the most empowered I've ever felt. And why would I give that up?
Exactly. See, but you used to be a journalist, right?
Yeah.
And when did you stop that?
10 years ago.
10 years ago?
Yeah.
Have you noticed that there is a general trend in journalists quitting what they are doing in today's time, especially?
I think comes from one, the fast pace, and I think also because I think it's no longer what it used to be. Journalism is not what it used to be. Most of the journalism that I worked for the Hindu, and I have worked for Mint, and I worked for
Hindu at one point was like that, right? Like if it's in the Hindu, it's golden.
yeah. So I'm from that old school of journalism, and when I see what's happening on television now and breaking news, everything is breaking news. The other day I was saying, I mean, I'm not going to name the star, but
please do.
this one, no, it's like no, because many of them are friends.
Acha.
What is news? What is breaking news now? Oh, this so and so star wishes her mother happy birthday. That is breaking news. So then, what happened to good old news? If somebody having their third child, if you're a Bollywood diva, if you have a child, that makes national news. So then,
Because they're filling the daily cycle, no? So there was a time when the job of the journalist was to inform the truth.
yeah.
Now we honestly live in a very post-truth world, right? Where truth doesn't matter. And it matters. What matters? Eyeballs matter. The kind of retention. The kind of
Scandal quotient matters.
things that are being spoken about should be worth speaking about is not a concern anymore.
So I don't then see why not. If people are
Them
quitting,
jumping ship, yeah.
then if it doesn't feel true to you, if it's not true to your calling, then you should not do it. That's what I've always.
And that's what was on your mind when you stopped journalism and started becoming.
I was at a stage. I always believe that what you do should fulfill you in some way. It's either the money, which journalism never had.
Exactly.
Neither does being author have. Authors don't make money. I think the top 1% makes money. The rest do it for. I'm doing it because I love writing and I love telling the stories of people.
Correct.
But otherwise, there's no money to be made in journalism.
I'll tell you a funny story. Right, I had gone to Mumbai, okay, where in the journalist Times of India lane, right, वहाँ पे a good way, a trick that PR generally uses is go to the tapris. Because the journalists come, right? वो टपरी वाला बोल रहा था कि देखो सर ये ऑफिस में ना सब लोग सिगरेट मारते हैं, खरीदते सिर्फ 50% लोग. That is the general idea, right?
Yeah.
But go on, you were saying.
So, journalism didn't make any money for me. I've written several books, hugely popular books, but there is no money to be had. You're writing it because you love telling the stories of people. You love that part of your life. My food on the table comes from my, motivational talks, my writing workshops, a lot of the other things around writing. But
what was the first book? Tell me about your first
Leading
book.
Ladies.
Leading Ladies.
Leading Ladies, Women Who Inspire India.
And that came in 2010. One fine morning, I woke up and I logged on at work, and I had written this story, which was for that time a huge story break, and it was a huge, it would have made the front page top story of the day. And then there was a problem with the sourcing, and I was told, what are your sources for this story? And I said, you know the drill. I'm not going to tell you the source. You have carried several stories of mine, and you never had a problem with the source. So I cannot tell you the source. I can assure you that this is 100% true, and you will not have to eat your words.
Not even to your editor.
Not even to my editor, because the stakes were very high for that story. Very, very high. And
Which was the story?
it was Renault breaking away from Mahindra and Mahindra. So that was like at a time when, it was a huge story. And I would like to keep the name away out of this, because it's, old skeletons and need not. Then I got a mail from my editor saying, your source or your resignation in the next 1 hour. And I wrote to him in the next minute saying, here is my resignation. And that is who I am. I don't care. I don't care, because that person, the guy who gave me that story, he has children. He has to feed his family, and I'm not going to do that just so that I can, So I just walked away, and I think, in retrospect, that was the best thing I ever did, because that losing my job gave me the opportunity to sit back and think of what I wanted really to do in life. By then I had finished, I think, 23 years in journalism. I was sleepwalking through this. You know, I loved what I'm doing, but it was not sort of exciting me every day.
It didn't scare you.
It didn't scare me. I felt like ये मुझे मालूम है यार, और कितना stories यही लिखूंगी, you know, like. And I was not admitting it, because you get hooked to the money, you get hooked to the fame, because you know, front page of a newspaper byline is it's like an addiction. And I was getting that daily dose of my you know whatever high. But part of me kept saying that you have so much experience, and what are you doing? Like, what are you doing with all that experience? And when I quit this job, the first 2-3 days were like hell, because suddenly, who are you? Like, you know, far too many of us sort of identify, what is your identity? Oh, I'm a journalist.
That is true.
You know, till then I was bureau chief of Pune, bureau chief of so and so many newspapers. The day I quit,
There was no title in.
what was I? You know, who am I? And I drove everybody in my house crazy with my, you know, this first 3 days. And then my husband told me, Prashant, one day, and to my horror, this quitting of job happened 3 days after Prashant relocated to India. So that was like a double whammy. He was like, he had not expected a wife who will be in tears or who would be like not happy.
Correct.
So then the fourth or fifth day, he said, look, all your life you have told me that you wanted to write a book. This is the time. Like, you have nothing, you have no money anyway, you have nothing to lose.
So
write that book.
Go for it.
Right.
And I said, that's like the best piece of advice I've got. And
I wrote Leading Ladies, Women Who Inspire India, because I had been a very young mother, a very young professional, a journalist, very ambitious. And every time I came in touch with one of those women who are doing so much with their lives, you know, so much meaningful work, impactful work, I would look at them and I would say that what is it that they're doing that I can do, so that I'm also fulfilled and empowered. And, you know, success was a big thing. Even today for me, success is, I'm not saying success is the only thing in life, but I'm saying that if you do what you do to the best of your ability, that is success.
Correct.
You know, success is not money or designation or anything, but this feeling when you come home that you have done your best, and that is success. And I wanted to carry the stories of those women I had met along the way, you know, in 22 years of journalism. And they are from everywhere. They are from grassroots workers to the top business leaders, the top sports people across. And so I started doing Leading Ladies. And, you know, I never thought that it would become the kind of successful book it would become, but it was.
It has become, exactly, it has become so much of a success that now it's a cliche. Now every woman entrepreneur is now a book writer about women's issues. And this was, in fact, one of the conversations that when we were like reading up and like just generally researching, I was like, why is she writing just about women-centric issues? Because that in today's time is a hyper-restrictive niche.
yes.
Because it's almost like if you're a woman, you're starting up something by yourself, write about the struggles of the women.
Yeah.
But then when I actually explored the books that you've written, those are not the kind of cliched, oh, everyone is great, everyone is awesome, these are women whom I need favors from, and you're, no, that is not the scene.
I always believe that if you're doing any sort of work, it should kind of change the way people live their lives. It should impact people's life positively. It should have some effect on whoever is the reader. Like, he should get his money's worth of, you know, something. There should be something in it.
That is not a norm that anyone clicks. See, I think in today's times, we've kind of all realized that the tag matters, nothing else does, right? Publish 7 books is a tag, right? Which every Tom, Dick and Harry has essentially, because no one actually explores what is the quality of those books.
You know,
I've been conducting this Get Writing workshops in India. I think I started that in India. It was a pioneering thing, and it was like when I started that in Pune in 2011, I think Jan 2011, like few months after my book released. It came because I went on a book tour with Leading Ladies, and wherever I went, somebody or the other would come and tell me, you know, I have this story to write. I wish I could write like you. And when enough people had said this, I said, there is this thing, you know, people want to tell their stories. And the way we are taught in school,
is not.
No, my annual vacation or my whatever picnic to Lonavala or
It's a little bit of craft that goes beyond just the.
I started that when I announced my first Get Writing workshop here in Pune. 1 month before that, I have lot of friends in journalism and very very dear friends. Many of who told me कि तू काय करते है? You know, your credibility is at risk here. You know, you're a journalist, you're a writer, you're not a teacher. Why are you like? You know, why are you putting that at risk? Your credibility, नको करोस, काय तुला करायचंय? And I said, look, I want to do this because people want to learn something.
Correct, and might as well give the people what they want essentially.
I want to, you know, empower people to tell their stories, help them to tell their stories. I think each of us has a story, you know, within us.
Actually, we'll come back to the each of us has a story part. We'll just quickly take a break and we'll be back in 5.
Lovely.
Yeah?
Thanks.
Tell me, as we were saying, like the stories that you write, you mostly deal with non-fiction, right? Why not fiction?
Because I think real life is so much more intriguing than, you know, creating something. There's so much drama, there's so much pathos, there is so much real things happening. So I just don't feel the need to go back, you know, sit in a room and recreate something out of nothing. I'm saying everything you need, all the stories that you want to find is here, right here in front of us. You know, you have to just listen with all your senses, and it's there.
Dude, and I'm very curious about this one particular book, the letters that people have written to their daughters. Dude, what is that? Where did that idea come from?
Legacy happened the year my daughter was turning 21. And I think it was in 2013 or 14. I'm not remembering that. But, you know, I knew that I had almost single-handedly raised Nayanthara because I was a working mother, husband was working elsewhere. And also I had this, like all women, I had this thing that I should do everything, you know. And I also had this nagging sense of guilt that I have not been the mother that you see, you know, in ad films, for instance, like dabba bhi banayegi, school bag bhi pack karegi, birthday parties bhi karegi, perfect cake bhi. I was not that mother. I was like very ambitious, very hardworking, needed byline in the newspaper every day. But I was a good mother. I raised my child with a good set of values. I read to her every day, which is very important for me.
ये सब खुद के बारे में ही बोल रहे हो बस.
No, because मुझे चाहिए था कि ये, you know, पढ़े, you know, let her read good books. I think I was reading to Nayanthara by the time she was 1.5. And to now, like she's 29 now, and she devours books. She just loves books. Like any form, any kind, she will read. So I was that kind of mother. But I had also, you know, society is very, very insensitive to, you know, working women.
Working women especially. Because there is always that like, you're not living up to your full potential.
Yeah.
You're not looking after your child well. That is like that they'll never allow you to forget that when it is this thing that you chose to work, which means you're not good to your family. There is that subtle put down. There is that subtle cruelty. Passive aggression is there all the time. And so I had this nagging sense of guilt that maybe I've not done enough for my child. Maybe, like, I had somebody who once told me, I have been there when my daughter took her first steps. I've been there when her first tooth came out. I've been there, you know, all of those things, milestones. And I say, like, when I heard this enough times, once I told one very pesky, distant relative that, but I was not there for most of this. But I know that when my daughter needs a role model or a good set of footsteps to follow, I'm that person. I want to be that person who she can follow and, you know, live a fulfilled life. So when she was turning 21, I said, I want to give her something that will be valuable, something that will allow her to lead a good life, a life of value and ethics and, you know, fulfilled life, a life of dignity and all of that. And I started writing this letter to her. But then you know how children are about parents who write letters, or it'll be like, Mom, another bhashan. You know, so I said, ye nahi banega, ye bhashan wali, it'll just be kept aside. So I said, instead of just me writing her a letter, let me get people we all admire, men and women we all admire, let them write letters
Correct.
to to their children, and I knew that none of them are going to have the time to write those letters. So I wrote to them saying that I'm doing this book, and it's still a source of delight to me that when I said this is a concept that you talking to your daughter about what are the important things in life, each of them said yes in a blink. Because that subject is so special, isn't it? Your bond with your
Child, right? And especially if you're a daughter, then that is.
it was like instant. Like I remember Mr. Narayana Murthy said, "Look, I can give you 20 minutes." And 2013, not too much money in my hand, broke author, and living in Pune and going to Bangalore for 20 minutes. But I said I want to take this chance, so I said I'm coming. And I went, and I think that interview went on for about over an hour, well over an hour, and till he got a call from his house saying that your son is getting married, like 2 days from now you need to come home or something. So he said, okay, I'm coming. So, but that conversation was so rich.
And it flowed.
Because he told me something in Legacy. He said, when we were talking about this, he said that, becoming father to Akshata changed the way I interacted with the world. He said, when I saw that little girl, I suddenly wanted to be a more compassionate, more empathetic, more generous, more kind of person, because I wanted my child to grow up looking up to me and saying, this is my father and this is who I want to be.
Correct.
So he says, from that day, my interaction with the rest of the world changed completely. So these things, they are so special. Like you would think Mr. Narayana Murthy only thinks about technology, but there is a very kind, generous human being inside it.
And if that is like, it's like this, no? Like a conversation is a window to a person's mind. But a letter, now that goes deeper, right? That goes far deeper. Because it's such a personal moment between you and your child. And now that is being captured and given as like reference, essentially.
And it's there all the time. And so many schools, they have that couple of chapters in their curriculum. The Oxford University Press published some of those letters. For me, it was a great kind of. I was happy that this book is going to.
Incredible concept.
It went into several reprints. The book. It continues to be one of the favorite books to. Anytime there is something special that somebody wants to celebrate, they'll say, "Can we have 100 books?" Because this is something of so much value. And none of them are talking about making money. They're only talking about what we should aim for as human beings.
In the ethics, the values, the morals of life.
My email from Mr. Prakash Padukone saying, thank you so much for giving words to what I feel for my daughters. I would never have been able to. And he was my childhood hero. So it was like, that is a letter that always will be there.
You played baddie over.
I used to sit with my father, and in those days when he was playing, there would be only that ECTV, black and white. I don't know whether you guys would.
I have CRT, no? Essentially.
So I would sit with him and I'd watch him, and I was like totally in love with that guy because he represented a lot of things for India. Suddenly India was something.
Someone could win, like by themselves.
So he was my childhood hero. So when I went to meet him in Bangalore, I told him that this is like a dream for me.
Proper fangirl moment.
Then to receive a letter from him, an email from him saying that thank you for giving words to what I've always wanted to tell, but I didn't know how to. Like I would not have been able to write this.
That is true. So how is it to be a successful author? Tell me this, like honestly, okay? And I've been complete honesty. How is it to be recognized? How is it to have like your book stocked? I've seen your book stocked, by the way, in cafes and.
It's like a dream come true. And for me, when I say
this is the cliched answer. Now give me the real answer.
It is unreal. Like there are days when I sit somewhere in a quiet moment. When I sit, I have this horrible fear that this is not true. Like this is all a fluke. And I still have that imposter syndrome. Like I think a lot of women especially suffer from this. They feel that something that happened to them is actually not. It happened, galti se. It is like that. I feel that it's not true, and so every time there is a book, I'll say, my God, like next one, what if the next one is not
A hit, right?
I have that thing. It's so many years later, 11 years of being author, 5 very, very popular books. But I still, now the next one is coming out.
Correct. I heard that one is in print, right?
It went to press yesterday.
Yesterday. So I think by the time that this comes out, it'll be available. When is it releasing?
17th of August.
17th, for sure.
And it is, yeah.
And it's like one of those very, very special. I've written all my books from my heart, but this is like all of me in this book because
What is
it
it
came.
called?
It's called Recipes for Life.
Recipes for
Life, and it is not a recipe book or a cookbook. It's a memoir. It's a food memoir, and started from a very deeply personal space inside me. Like my mother-in-law was a fantastic cook, fantastic. Like she was CKP, my husband is from a CKP family and they love food. And she was this brilliant cook who cooked with so much love and abundance for her family. And she passed away in 2017. And with her went all of those family recipes, because none of us had bothered to ever take down. We always assumed she was going to be there. Every come summer and she would call and say, "Tujhe वाटेचं ठेवलंय हा, घेऊन जा masale, chaklia, whatever that you make, papad, ye wo, घेऊन जा," she would say. And I would go and bring all the goodies home and very happily, yeah. And then when she passed away, one day I called my sister-in-law. I said, तुझ्याकडे आईच्या खिचडीचा मसाल्याचं रेसिपी आहे का ग? She said, नाही ना, बघ ना, मी कधी लिहूनच घेतलं नाही. And it was like, even the daughter didn't have. And you would expect the daughter would have because you learned.
Correct, you pass it
I
down.
always thought I is going to be there. That's how we are. And
2 years ago, I was going through one spring cleaning of my kitchen. And I found this dabba with ice khichdi masala 2016, I opened it and the fragrance was still the same, like it's airtight container, it's still the same. And it was one of those moments, like, I don't know, something moved inside me and I was like very emotional about it. And I said, I want to use this to cook now. But I cannot bring myself to cook because I'm thinking he masala will get over. And then the last thing about her would be also gone. The thing that I can say that this was ice. That's also going. And now I'm experiencing it from the mother. My mother is diagnosed with dementia and she's forgotten huge portions of her life. Like a clean slate, like she's almost child now. And she was a passionate cook and brilliant cook who was like, her one thing in life was feed everybody who she sees. She also doesn't have any recipe. Like if you look at our histories, if you look at our families, we don't take down family recipes. We don't. It's always mother to daughter-in-law. If the son is interested, the son will learn. But nobody writes. It's all oral history. There is no documentation. And so I said, I'm going to write this thing. I'm going to do something with this. I'm going to I started off thinking I'll just do my mother-in-law and my mother's recipes. And then I said, no, if I have to do justice to this, let me get other people into this and let them also talk about their memories of growing up with maa ke haath ka khana, And then, as usual, I pitched it to a lot of people and each one of them was, this is such a delightful idea. This is such a special idea. And they all spoke to me about the khana that their mother used to make. They connected with me with their mothers.
so the mother.
So who all are there? Who all are on the...
So,
Vidya Balan and her mother. Then
Irfan Pathan.
So that's the south is covered that way.
Hasani Maniratnam and her mother. Irfan Pathan was like so special because very, very poor family. He was saying that 2 meals a day was a luxury. We only had 1 meal. But Ammi made it with so much love. And he's told me what are the things they ate and, what she made. And he says कि तभी just गरम रोटी में शक्कर डाला हुआ हम लोग खाते थे. Today we can eat the same thing with ghee or we can have, the most expensive meal in the world, but that roti with my mother's love in it is still the specialist thing that I can eat. Then there is Ajit Agarkar, then there is Amesh Tripathi, the author.
What did Amish have, by the way? I'm very curious about the recipe that he had.
Oh, he's given me some very specific family recipes, like not regular food that his mother has given me. Beautiful memories, and it is amazing. Like when you say "माँ के हाथ का खाना," it is just so special how they talk. Like
You know what is going to
Irfan
happen?
Pathan
Someone's going
points.
to listen to this and they're going to steal the concept of maa ke haath ka khana
Yeah.
and a cookbook is going to come.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, capitalize on this now and do the second part to this as well.
Yeah.
Maa ke haath ka khana.
Yeah, that has been already trademarked.
Oh, see,
Yeah.
this is why you're a successful
Yeah.
author.
Because I started off saying "माँ के हाथ का खाना." The book was initially called that, and then I said no, it's too cliched. Like we don't want. And eventually, when the book came together, I realized it's not only about recipes, because these people many of them told me what the mother taught them through the way she cooked for them. So there are so many things that they learned by just seeing their mother in the kitchen, or by the way they fed their children.
And it attaches so much of like, so it for a change puts attention on the most ignored part of growing up, right?
Yeah.
A mother puts a lot of time into
Nobody
the cooking.
celebrates that bond.
I'll
Only
be very
Mother's
honest.
Day,
I'll be very honest. I was one of the same people. Like I was like, yeah, take it fine. Like mom cooks,
Yeah.
and she has a job. My mom is a career woman as well. Now, the gap came when you live alone,
Yes. Then you.
and then when you have to cook for 2 hours just to get food in your belly.
5 minutes में खत्म हो जाए.
Yes, and then I
She
go
does
like,
it through
I've never seen her cook more than 15 minutes.
Yeah.
That was incredible, and that is such a connecting moment, right?
Yeah. That is what.
Manu Pillai, the author, and he was like, my mother had shortcuts for everything, and yet the food was so brilliant. Like so many of the people saying, many of them had working mothers, working outside mothers. All mothers work to, work themselves to the bone, but working mother as in going out for a career. And so it has now become, the book is now called Recipes for Life, because there is so much that they have learned from just that bond with their mother.
Amazing. Amazing. I love this concept.
Yeah.
I am completely floored by the.
Yeah. It's become a very, very special book. And
I'm going to actually link this down and I'm going to buy one of those the first chance I get, right? Tell me, how does distribution work? How do you distribute your book?
The publisher does that.
As in, like, how do you get to a publisher? Tell us generally on how to get to becoming an author.
You of course begin with writing. Amazingly enough, every time I have a workshop for aspiring writers, there'll always be somebody in the class who say, "Who do you think I should publish with?" And I'd say, "What have you written?" Nothing. So it is not that. Writing is a lifetime's preoccupation. This is always what I say.
Preoccupation.
Yeah, it is a lifetime's journey, and you should not put the horse before the cart. You should not, or the cart before the horse, whatever that is. First write, and then talk about publishing. A lot of people, what they do is put themselves under this tremendous pressure ki publish karna hai. I always say write for the joy that it gives you. Publishing will come later. First write, learn to write, find your authentic writerly voice, and then go to the publisher. Finding a publisher is, I think, by far the hardest challenge when it comes to
I've heard some horror stories.
Yeah, and publishers will only look at things that now, of course, with technology, it is you go to their website, you look at what kind of books they publish, and then see whether that publisher suits the kind of things. And then you have to upload your manuscript and then just wait. And I've heard that for some that call never comes. For some it might come after 6 months, 8 months, 10 months. But it is a waiting game.
Makes sense.
A lot of people are doing self-publishing, and there is nothing wrong in that. But I do think that self-publishing is the death knell of quality.
if you read
Definitely.
the kind of self-published books,
There are still grammatical errors. Like proofreading is not a thing in itself.
There are
Horror story. Like I have people who regularly call me up, parents call me up saying that मेरे बच्चे ने ना बुक लिखा है. How old is he? 9. तो हमने सोचा उसके बर्थडे के लिए उसका बुक पब्लिश कर So they pay somebody and some sad book is published.
And as I said, right, people chase that title. published author.
No,
I say that you are doing great disservice to your child. You know, the child, one, it sends out the wrong message that you can buy anything whatsoever. And two, it lulls him into believing that he's good. Maybe he sucks at it, but you know, you're just feeding a fancy. And for everything that, you know, you can't get anywhere without sweat and blood.
And
Hard
criticism,
work,
yeah.
talent,
Someone needs to
criticism.
tell you that this is not
Yeah.
worth shit.
Yeah.
And then do better.
But it's the world we are living in is now like instant gratification, बहुत ज़्यादा, and it's not a good thing. Like
At all.
yeah, it's not.
So, like, while you have been an author for the last 10 years, published so many books, there's enough free time that you explore a new career. Tell me, how was that as the first time experience? Like, when you went for the first time, you told me about the Dove ka shoot and whatnot. Once you decided, and now the call wasn't coming from the guy, like from the people, and now you had to go and audition and stuff like that. How was that?
Actually not.
no, actually not. I have not had to. Do that, going and waiting in audition
acha,
lines.
don't wait in lines, all
No,
of that.
no. For some reason it has not happened to me. So that first one, that first Stopper series, that went on to get several awards, and I don't know whether it's because of that or whether it's because I'm in that middle-aged woman niche, because everybody is glamorous and thin and young, and I'm not glamorous and thin and young. You know, it's like really like at an age where there are not too many women of my age doing this.
Going for a new career altogether.
Completely
You
new
started this
career.
At what age, by the way?
52.
Oh, dude.
52. Yeah.
That is incredible.
Yeah. And it was totally unplanned. There was a dream in my mind, but this happened like totally, like it just came and fell in my lap. And then the calls kept coming. It kept coming, and I never say no when I can say yes. That's my mantra.
हाँ,
हाँ,
rule is
कि
standard.
हाँ बोलो यार, and बाद में डिस्कस करेंगे, लेकिन don't say नहीं. Don't. I think the one thing that I've
Was this movie Yes Man or what?
No.
You should.
Okay.
Jim Carrey does a brilliant job of like, so in that movie, quite like it, his mantra is never say no. Can't say no.
Because
rather.
I have
I love this city, and I've learned this city has given me a lot. But I see so many people say no here. You know, zamnar nahi, karnar nahi, honar nahi, and it makes me angry. Like, why do you, without even listening, say no? At least listen, open your mind to possibilities. I really think that half your job is done when your mind is open. You know, when you're willing to explore, experiment, do all of these things. So that's how. So this thing, auditioning, everybody has to do. But I have not had to like beg somebody कि मुझे
sir, एक
cast
chance दे दो
करो.
वगैरह.
नहीं. Auditions come to me. I'm already shortlisted, and then they say, "मैम ये है, ये role है. आप जरा please audition भेज दीजिए." Like I have never gone and stood in a line, and I have been to Aram Nagar, where in Andheri, where it all happens, where there are mile-long queues of young people. Lot of them from smaller towns and cities. They come there. That is it.
Like their hopes and dreams, but
and I have seen
That, and it has scared the hell out of me. But I've never had to go and
through
stand there. Huh.
do you plan on getting into feature films, short films, वगैरह?
Web series, I've done a small cameo in Nagesh Kuknur's City of Dreams season 2. I think next week it's launching. Cameo है, छोटा सा है. But it was magical because he was somebody I admire so much.
Also because a whole different feel than a commercial shoot sort of a thing, right?
completely different.
I get energy from all of that. No, I feel so energized when I'm on a set and lights, camera, action. It sets me like my heart.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
And as a journalist, like 10 years ago, you would have never thought that this is where you'd be.
Never. I always
Which
tell
is
my
what
daughter,
I. Go on.
She's an entrepreneur. She's the first entrepreneur in our family. All of us, nobody has dared to go into business.
Yeah.
But she said to me when she finished her 12th standard that I want to become a chef. That's what I want to do. I dream of baking. That's what I want to do. And I said, that is a brilliant dream. I said, but just for my sake, get yourself a graduate degree.
Correct.
You know, because you need a world view. You know, you need a world view, and then you do whatever you want to do. So she went to Sophia's in Bombay, did her mass comm. Alongside, she started learning baking at the Sophia's polyclinic and polytechnic. At the end of her graduation, she said, now I want to go to Le Cordon Bleu and study baking. And she went off and she did all of that. She came back. I said, please find a job. She said, I don't want to work for anybody. I didn't go to Le Cordon Bleu to work for somebody and make the same, you know, jaded pastry. She said, don't do that. Don't make me take up a job. And then she set up her own pastry brand, which is doing so well.
What is it called?
It's called Patisserie. It's inspired by Paris. So
And the word patisserie. Patisserie.
So, yeah, it's doing amazingly well and lot of.
Where is this based?
It's in Bombay.
she works from a cloud kitchen. So all of the production in one place, and then people just order in Swiggy, Zomato, Yevo. So I always tell her that, you know, when I look back at my life, I have come, like, I cannot believe that I have done that. Like, I have come so far because I came from a very, very modest family. You know, my father was a trade union leader, very honest trade union leader, would give most of his salary away to, colleagues who needed to send their children to school or treatment for the wife or something. So I come from that kind of family. Like, we just had enough to eat and go to school and nothing more. And I always tell her that if I could come so far, and I'm not saying I've done a lot of things in life, but from where I
would say.
But from where I have come, like a small town in suburban Mumbai, from there to, I never dreamed, I never would have thought anything. Like, we had nothing, we had no contacts, no money, no prospects, nothing. I was actually the girl on the wrong side of the track, because we actually, railway employees, their homes are on the side of the track, you know. So I was literally that girl on the wrong side of the track. So I tell her that if I could do all of this, it is only because I refuse to tell myself that I'm not enough. Like, I always said, nahi karungi main. You know, I can do this. And I always dreamt. And I think it is important for all of us to have a dream. And it is important for all of us to be ambitious. And to every day tell yourself that this is a fresh new day and I can do something more. Like, failures will come. Like, failures will be there. And I think that if you don't fail, you don't learn enough. If you don't fail, you can't succeed. Because then if you don't fail, at the first sign of a challenge, you'll quit. But I have grown with challenges every step of the way. And I think that helps you. That makes you a better person. That makes you a better everything. Because you develop compassion and empathy, and you know that when things go wrong, there are going to be people who will give you a hand and say, you know, come on up and I'll help you.
This is incredible, dude. It's just amazing to hear you speak. And like, while very honestly, I wasn't expecting that kind of an angle on it, but dude, really makes you think. And
that is what I really practice this. Like you asked me, why do you write so much about women? And I think it is important to tell the stories of women. It is important to walk shoulder to shoulder with other women. Important to help them up along the way, because nobody has done that for us. You know, nobody has done that for us in so many years. Like, decades have passed since this country became independent, but we women are still struggling. And I think, I remember once I had this long conversation with Elaben Bhatt. She was the one of Seva, the founder of Seva. She was the one who wrote the foreword for my book. When I went to her with this thing, Ela ma'am, मुझे please आपका interview करना है. I went to Ahmedabad, and this tiny little woman, you know, she was 4 feet 5 inches or something, tiny and shriveled with age, but such a blaze of energy on her face. And you know, she was a Gandhian, and she set up Self-Employed Women's Association, which today is the largest trade union for women in the unorganized sector. And she set it up, a woman all by herself.
In that time.
And today it is replicated in various parts of the world. So, I don't know why I started taking.
It's about taking the first step, right, essentially.
So she told me that you women in urban India, you all are such a privileged lot. And she said that if each of you will spend at least 1 week in a village, in a town, and work with women here, with young girls, because they have so many dreams, but there is nobody telling them that they can do it. There are only people telling them, तुम तो लड़की हो, तुम तो शादी करो, हाँ, बच्चे पैदा करो, बस यही करना है, उसके बाद फिर घर संभालना है आपको.
This is what is
Showing them something else can be.
So
That's why I write the stories of women. I think that each of us, like men and women, once upon a time I used to think, when I was much younger, I thought it was just my duty to help another woman. Now I'm saying all of us, because you have a mother, you have a sister, you have a wife. These are all women, and they all need help. So yeah, so you someday have a daughter, or just anybody. I mean, this world wouldn't exist, isn't it, if there were no women?
Exactly.
So I think we should. Yeah.
Amazing. This has been an incredible conversation. Thank you for this. This was really, really fun. Sudha's book is coming out on the 17th of August, and it is called Recipes for
Life.
Recipes for Life. I'll have a link in the description below. Please do definitely check out all the books that she's written. And well, she's on Instagram. We'll put the handle there. Go give her a follow. If you have any doubts, DM her, have a conversation. This has been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for hosting us in your wonderful home.
Thank you for listening, because I think not many people listen to women's stories. You know, when women talk something that is not comfortable, very often she gets cut off middle. So thanks for listening to me.
We're strong believers in बात करने से बात बनती है, right?
Great.
We keep that as the primary motto. And go for it.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It was very special.
It was
Thank
really,
you for
really
connecting
nice.
me.
And we're out.